This video will demonstrate how to configure SSO. GetCertified can act as a service provider through the SAML 2.0 protocol, which allows the exchange of authorization data with an identity provider. SAML 2.0-based single sign-on can be configured for multiple identity providers simultaneously. You need to create an SSO configuration and define the parameters of the identity provider. To begin, you will need to log in with your administrative credentials. Please navigate to System and Integrations when logged in. This action will lead you to the single sign-on page. Enter the name of the SSO configuration. The name must be unique for each SSO configuration since it identifies the SSO configuration. Optionally enter the description of the SSO configuration. Choose the status of the SSO configuration. If the status is enabled, users can sign in with the identity provider specified in the configuration. Otherwise, they will not be able to do so. Use the provided service provider entity ID URL to configure the service provider on the identity provider side. The value represents the service provider's identifier. Use the provided assertion consumer service URL to configure the service provider on the identity provider side. Choose the assertion consumer service binding that is suitable for the identity provider. Enter the identity provider entity ID, identifier of the provider entity. The entered value must be in URL. Enter the single sign-on service URL and URL of the identity provider's single sign-on service endpoint, where the service provider will send the authentication request. Choose the single sign-on service binding, a SAML protocol binding when the service provider sends the authentication request to the identity provider. Input the certificate, the public X509 certificate of the identity provider. The certificate must be in a string format without headers. Next, there are a few attributes that you can fill out. These attributes represent a JavaScript expression that can be mapped to these attributes. A username, email, first and last name attribute. Once you are done, users of the application will be able to access YouTestMe directly if they were previously logged into one of your systems using SAML 2.0 single sign-on. If they were not, they would have the option on the login page to log in using SAML 2.0 single sign-on.